So welcome. I'm Steve Walker. I'm the director of the Life School, and welcome to our information session for interested parents and students who are thinking about applying for the 2021-2022 school year. Hopefully right now you can see our wonderful group of students and teachers who will be speaking with you. People will introduce themselves as we go. If you have any questions at any point, there's a Q&A button on your screen, down the bottom of your screen. Just put your question in there, and if it's a question that seems particular to your situation, Priya, our science teacher, will try to answer that as we go. If it's a more generic question that is probably better off left for the end because it will be of interest to everyone, we'll try to answer as many of those questions as we can at the end of our presentation. So definitely use the Q&A function for any questions. Without any further ado, let's get started. Oops. Okay. So, our tagline up there says a caring community committed to rigorous learning. And that, boy, if you need to know something, that's it. We do some serious work here, but we do it in an atmosphere of tremendous care and love and respect for each other. And it makes it a really joyful experience. I'm not going to read this to you. This is our new mission statement. This was drafted this year really by the students. The values and principles and ideas came out of student discussions and surveys, and then one of our students, who's a gifted writer, turned it into this beautiful, really work of art. So I'll give you a second to read this so you get a chance of who we aspire to be as a community. So hopefully you got a chance to get through most of it. It is on our website, so if you'd like to take more time to contemplate this wonderful mission statement, feel free to visit our website at any point. I want to start off talking a little bit about how we fit into a broader movement. We're a lab school. And what that means is that part of our mission is to explore the best practices of teaching and learning. What's the best way for people to learn and try different things to try and help kids learn more effectively as a community and for each of them individually. So it's a really exciting place where we're constantly trying to figure out what the newest research says and borrow and steal from other great innovative schools around the world. We're really mostly, if not all, about project and problem-based learning. So you're not going to see a lot of lectures and tests, really no tests for the most part. I mean, you take the Regents exam junior year for U.S. history, but that's pretty much about it. We really grew out of a movement in education that goes back about 30 or 40 years. That was part of the Coalition of Essential Schools movement that was really about how do we make learning more engaging, relevant to kids, more student-centered, more effective in terms of turning them into really highly effective adults who know themselves and can work effectively in college and beyond. We believe that less is more. Rather than trying to memorize a lot of stuff. We're going to study fewer things more deeply here. Junior year, you'll take 2 of your 4 core academics with us at a time, so that you can focus on those with more depth and take your time with them, rather than trying to bounce around from one class to another and one subject to another every hour. And the same thing again for homework at night. And we are really a part of a shift in education that is really spreading throughout the collegiate system as well. What you've seen is colleges over the last 10 years in particular really moving more towards experiential learning, more research-based classes, discussion-based classes, project-based classes, more experiential learning with abroad programs, internships, et cetera. And so that's what we're a part of. And there's this quote from the Duke University Dean of Admissions. We like students who love to think, who strive, who are willing to take a chance, and who understand that sometimes you learn more from failure than from success. And you'll hear about those principles and those values from our students and teachers tonight. Now we're going to hear from a lot of talking from students, hopefully, about each of our main topics, and then you'll hear a teacher perspective or two as well. So first, community.
Hi, I'm Sienna. I am a senior this year and a student director who actually runs the class community. So there are 2 types of community in the life school, both the feeling and sense of community, and then the class or course community. So the feeling of community is embedded deep within the life school and within our word Ubuntu, which is actually a South American phrase meaning I am because we are. So community is seen within student-student relationships, both at school and outside of school. So this community is amplified with activities such as game nights, which was pre-pandemic. We would all come into C6, which is the community room. It's painted on the ceiling, and there would be buckets full of board games, and we would all grab one and sit with some new people and talk and play games for a few hours. And then we would also have day trips, apple picking, ice skating, and right now we are continuing these activities by playing Among Us on Wednesday nights over Zoom, but it is still really, really nice. As well, we do dyads, which are breakout rooms of 2 or 3 students who are given prompts and questions about ourselves and our interests, which really help us get to know partners and the people around us before projects. And these questions can range from what was your most treasured memory to what you did last weekend. So other community type relationships would be between students and teachers. So unlike in a lot of other classes, per se in the main campus, in the life school, there is a strong emphasis on teacher-student relationships. Teachers and students here really get to know each other as people first, becoming both mentors and friends before the simple roles of teacher and student. So personally, a personal experience, Steve here, I've had plenty of lunches with him talking about, sure, classwork, but also a wide variety of topics from politics, personal life, and music taste. Other things that unify our community, and specifically with students and teachers, would be Thanksgiving, where alums and current students and current teachers, past teachers, all come together to share life school as an entity. So just because you leave life school doesn't mean that you leave the student, teacher, and general life school community. So the sense of community and the feeling of Ubuntu and community is also seen within the classroom. Every single section is like a little family. Every class you feel like you are a part of a little family. There are dyads again, and next to collaborative work, we all really get to know each other as people and care about each other and care about our work. So other than the feeling of community, which is obviously embedded in life school, there is a class dedicated to bringing the community together. It is juniors and seniors alike with all the current teachers, and the community class focuses on building relationships and learning from each other. So what exactly is the course of community? So community is run by a student director, and it focuses on both a business aspect and a activity or speaker or panel as well. So the business section focuses on first meditation. Everyone can turn off their cameras, take a deep breath, moves right into gratitude, which is similar to Thanksgiving type, where we all have a space to say something we're grateful for, both in and outside of the life school or things coming up, etc. And we also sing birthdays for each other. I make everyone unmute and we all sing for each other. We sound great every time. It's even funnier on Zoom. And then we move into rattling around, which is just kind of saying anything that's on your mind. And then the activity speaker or panel section, which either provides information that we all get to collectively learn and discuss, or activities, again, such as dyads that unify us and get us to know each other and bring us closer as a community, or panels of teachers, alums, or other community service, for example, that provide us with strong insight that we also discuss. So thank you. And now I'm going to pass it off to Priya to talk a little bit more about community.
Hi, I'm Priya. I'm the science teacher in the life school. I also have a section of advisory along with most of the teachers up here. I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means for me. You know, we spend a lot of time in the class community building relationships, but we also do it within our academic classes because it makes a difference with students working together. It kind of drives away that fear of who is that person that's going to be working with me on a project. Or is going to be giving me feedback is my teacher. And it's like we get to know each other as humans, and the community and our mission statement is what we lay our foundation on. And everything stems from that, from like doing revision and the feedback process, the teachers themselves working as a team, communicating efficiently and effectively about the students so that we can better support them. And then the core of being able to build a healthy community is great social emotional learning, which we focus on a lot in life school. And Dr. Alcalay, our psychologist, is going to talk to you a little bit about that now.
Hi, I'm John Alcalay. I'm a school psychologist at Greeley. I've been working with the life school since the end of year one, working both individually with students and in groups and advisory. So Daniel Goleman wrote a book several years ago called Multiple Intelligences. And it really talked about cognitive academic intelligence is one kind of intelligence, and schools do a really good job of helping students develop that skill. But there are also a lot of others. As Priya mentioned, the social emotional intelligence, creative intelligence, and several others. And we as a life school feel we want to foster all of those different kind of intelligences through things that we do. The rationale being that a lot of research has shown that people that develop a high degree of social emotional intelligence can be incredibly successful in the workplace, you know, being part of a team, managing people, motivating the group. But even more importantly, people with high social emotional intelligence are happier in relationships. And you've heard that thread throughout already. Relationships, building them teacher to student, student to student is such a critical part of what we do. And one of the things I think we're most proud of, and a constant focus throughout the program on social emotional learning, on relationship building, I think helps our students become more self-reflective, understand other people better, develop a sense of even greater empathy, gratitude, and decision-making. And we'll talk a little bit later on about how those things are woven in through some of the specific things that we do. But again, it's such an important part of what we do.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful night. I am Emmett Shea, a junior and student director within the Life School. First, I would love to talk about Life School's approach to student empowerment. Most decisions coming from within the Life School are created from student input. That means events like Among Us Night, Fun Friday, and these topics covered in community, as were mentioned earlier by Sienna, all have input from students. Students also make a lot of day-to-day decisions and long-term decisions with the help of teachers and vice versa. This leaves both parties satisfied while providing a fun and challenging environment for learning. Life School is mainly group project-based, which promotes students to teach each other about topics they feel comfortable in, and also sometimes it's very nice to learn topics from a student as well. Up next now, I'd like to talk about committees. So in Life School, the Leadership Council is made up of student directors, 3 student directors, and committees. Committees include Ubuntu, Sustainability, Restorative Justice, and there are many more. And there are 3 student directors. Student directors provide a necessary communication line between teachers and students and also play a critical role in the life school. Overall, the schoolwork in the life school and the leadership council empowers students in their learning while also giving students great experience in leadership. Thank you.
And I'll just add, from a teacher perspective, we're constantly thinking about how we can empower our students to take ownership of the program, to take ownership of their own learning, and to become empowered adults who can chart their own course in life. And you'll hear more about that across the evening. In the classroom, where you'll see this is a lot of opportunities for students to choose what they're learning, how they're learning it, how they're sharing or teaching other students, to decide at times which skills they're focusing on, to be able to come for feedback and coaching and have the agency to revise, and you'll hear more about that later. In terms of the program itself, as Emmett said, we really want the students to feel like they have an enormous amount of autonomy, and where they don't have autonomy, input and partnership with us in terms of the direction of the program. I would love for me to be a figurehead. And so every time I feel like that, I feel like we're doing a good thing. And we really have extraordinary student leaders, and you can hopefully get a sense tonight of how amazing our students are in terms of owning the program and shaping it. So let's talk a little bit about the courses, because I'm sure some of you are starting to wonder, okay, what does it actually look like when you go to the life school? Well, the first thing is, what makes a course a life school course? And you'll get the sense tonight. It'll be like a drumbeat over and over again. Project-based learning, a lot of collaborative work between students, a lot of real-world relevancy. In Mythbusters, which is American literature and U.S. history combined in an interdisciplinary course, we start off every unit, every lesson, every project with what's going on in the world right now in that theme and with those issues. And then the students will look at the literature, the history, et cetera. In physics and chemistry of the universe, it's about, how does gravity work? And, where did the universe come from? What was before the Big Bang? How does time work? So we're constantly trying to embed the learning in a way that is really relevant and meaningful and important to students, as well as giving the students ownership over that. And then we're also trying to develop the skills for college and beyond. And you'll hear students talk later on more about the skills, but it's really the core skills here are inquiry and research, analysis and synthesis, critical thinking, creative thinking, lateral thinking, expression, verbal expression, collaboration, these core skills to be able to think critically, find and to be able to work on it. I'm hearing an echo myself. I hope not everybody is. So we really focus on those skills, and they're embedded throughout the 2 years. And there's really a 2-year curriculum of skills that we're helping kids learn. For juniors, everybody takes advisory and community during course 1. So course 1, 3 days out of the cycle, you have advisory, and then 1 day you have community. Then in the afternoon, 1 semester, you'll take Mythbusters, U.S. history and American literature combined. So those are double blocked. So there's year-long courses, but they meet twice as often. And you'll hear students talk about how time flies in these courses. So don't worry about, spending an afternoon, 3 hours in Mythbusters. It's going to fly. You're doing lots of different things, and it's really engaging. But you're done with those year-long courses in a semester. So you can really focus in depth on, in 1 semester, the literature and history courses combined in 1 interdisciplinary course. Then the other semester, you'll take physics and chemistry of the universe, which is our science course. And then you have the option of taking topics in algebra 2 and trigonometry, which is optional, but most of our kids take it. It's adaptable so that for most of the kids in coming out of Greeley math, 10th grade, this will be the right place for you. There may be a few kids who are going to take main campus math, but most will be in the math with us. And then you'll take a junior internship, which will be third quarter. And we can talk more about that later if you'd like. For seniors, still take advisory and community, same advisor, same advisory group and community. And then the rest of the day, your schedule is going to vary a little bit. Everybody is going to take American literature too. Everybody's going to take writing communications. Everybody's going to take social justice. Everybody's going to take economics. Those are semester-long courses. So you're essentially taking a year of English and a year of social studies with us. You also get an internship. That's during fourth quarter. Then you have the option of taking AP psychology with us and the option of taking a college credit. It's eligible for college credit, SUNY Statistics and Public Policy course. It's fantastic. Most of our students take both the math and science courses with us, but you don't have to. So there's room in your schedule both years for taking courses on the main campus. As a junior, you're at least going to have 3 full year course slots, courses 2, 3, and 4, to take things on the main campus: language, art, electives, music, etc. And senior year, you're still going to have lots of places to take courses on the main campus. But most kids try to take as many of the courses as they can with us because they're looking for the full life school experience. And it's great. It's when you're in it, you realize this is a great place and a great way to learn. So that's basically how the schedule works. We can talk more about that later during Q&A if you want, or at any point if you have questions in the coming days and weeks, feel free to email me or set up a meeting. So happy to do that. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the ways in which the life school works, these classes work, and why this experience is so powerful and important for students. So first is independence and interdependence together.
Hey, I'm Colin. I'm a new senior, and I'm here to talk about independence and interdependence. So, jumping right into it, preparedness for college and beyond. As a new senior, I can tell you, coming in this year, I did not know what an annotated bibliography was. And Steve slapped me on the side of the head and fixed that. Now, there are many other ways, as the skills that Steve had mentioned before, whether it be inquiry and research, collaboration, and presentation, multiple others, that there's a heavy correlation between that and multiple other things in life school, especially with the collaboration and community in life school. Now, you can look at that in the relationships between students and teachers, and a mix between the two. Now, with students, that's enforced heavily with school structures such as the heavy enforcement of projects. Now, you're going to have to collaborate, and though that may seem daunting for some because of bad experiences, I can promise that it really isn't so. And the reason why I can say that is especially because of how strong the students are. I'll go on to explain that right now. Because of how personalized the experience is of life school, especially between the students and teachers, where you can see students helping create structures in classes, such as econ this year, for the class I have as a senior, that with how personalized the education is, it really creates such a unique experience. And what it allows for is for students to take an opportunity to strengthen their strengths and strengthen their weaknesses as well, ultimately resulting in them no longer having weaknesses. And what results in is these students developing themselves in the independent route. And that is especially so when there's the freedom given to the structure and malleability given to it, where students are able to then go on forth and study in real world applications in whatever their choosing is. And what you have resulting is all these developed students coming together then to really create and form a very unique and special community. And that is why life school is so strong and truly enforces the ideas mentioned before, the term Ubuntu, and the life school goal, as you read in the beginning, that's why that is so heavily enforced. And I can promise you that even with the online environment, with how much effort has been pushed forth by the students, the teachers, everyone, that even despite the hindrances and what disabilities that the pandemic brings about, that there's this effort that is really inspiring to see. And that is what makes life school what it is. And I'll pass it on to Marilyn now.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Walker. I'm the special ed teacher and also teach social studies in the life school. I really appreciate what Colin said about independence and interdependence. We really seek to implement the principles of design thinking and Google's Project Aristotle to encourage our students to seek the inclusion of every voice. In all of our projects and our efforts, every voice matters and every voice contributes, because we're the sum is greater than the parts. We're only as good as we are united. In Learning Center, on the main campus, Learning Center tends to be a very atomistic, individualized experience. And in the life school, what we really try to do is to build a learning team within each Learning Center. And students do continue to work independently and really develop their skills of advocacy and independence, but they do it together. And because they share so many classes in common and know each other so well, many times students pair up and work together on projects that they have, give each other feedback, and everyone has something to contribute. It's really a wonderful interdependent learning experience. I'll turn it over to Nick, and he can tell you more about his experiences.
I'm Nick. I'm the math teacher. I teach Algebra 2 and Student Statistics and Public Policy. And I don't have anything overarching. I do want to share one experience about interdependence that I got to witness this semester. Students do a lot of collaborative work, as has been said by numerous people on this panel so far. But it's a mix. Sometimes you wind up with someone you don't know very well, and sometimes you wind up with someone you do know very well, especially as a junior new to the life school. And I think that this is actually a story about two students who are here right now. So Emma and Gabby were working on a trigonometry project earlier this semester, and it was in our trigonometry and collaboration unit. And one of their conclusions at the end of the project, which was most outstanding, wasn't about the trigonometry itself, which I can't remember which project it was, but their big conclusion was that no matter what group you're in, the time that you spend getting to know and appreciate each other is time well spent to support the collaboration, which I didn't tell them to make that conclusion, but that was one of the conclusions at the end of the project. So that really speaks to why the I in life school stands for interdependence. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm a junior here in the life school.
And I'm Dina Pistato, and I'm a current senior in the life school. If you haven't figured out already, just because we don't have tests in the life school clearly doesn't mean that we don't do serious work here. We're going to talk about what makes this work so meaningful and challenging in the best possible ways.
I mean, it's really cool stretching your mind here. I wrote a children's book about the Big Bang. Can you imagine trying to explain the Big Bang to a little kid?
And I did a presidential briefing on the disparities in education spending in a 3-minute time limit. That's crazy to me, how I was able to do that. Additionally, I just want to quickly bring up the political unrest and polarization that has occurred. I understand this is a sensitive topic to some people, so I'll definitely be very careful. And in the past year, it's definitely okay to have questions. We all most definitely do. But if anyone was confused or surprised by what has happened so far, then you clearly haven't taken American Mythbusters yet. I think this is my favorite course I've ever taken in the life school and in high school in general. And I have learned and grown from it so much.
The first things I learned when I got to the life school was how to know if a source was credible and how to create an annotated bibliography. I know that Colin mentioned that before as well. We value intellectual honesty here, so these tasks are vital to the research we do. The diagram that you see on the slide is called the double V, and it's our outline for research. You will use this diagram for the rest of your life. Once you are given the topic, you will do something called mucking around, which is getting the big picture of the topic and figuring out what questions you still have. Then there's a bunch of research that you do and you synthesize with your group to make sure that you all have the same understanding of the topic and are able to answer the question that you came up with. Then you come up with a powerful thesis to base your final project off of. The projects we do here are awesome. You could do anything from a classic Google Slides presentation to a podcast, and I have a friend who even decided to design a t-shirt for his final project.
Now, moving on, I just really want to take this time to emphasize how our environment fosters making mistakes. And no, this doesn't mean that we want to see anyone fail. By this, I simply mean that all students will be in an environment in which you can feel comfortable in doing projects and discussions, whether that's in a whole group, smaller group, or by yourself. And you can grow through self-reflection and your peers. One way is by giving meaningful and concise, warm and cool feedback. And this isn't just for the teachers to do. Students get to learn how to do this, and they do it pretty often. Another way is through reflection. Whether that be through a quarterly portfolio, which is a journal type essay, where you will all reflect and give yourself feedback on how you did it on a given core skill. Now, I just want to quickly list the core skills of Life School, which include collaboration, analysis and synthesis, inquiry and research, written and verbal expression, and creative and lateral thinking. And one other version of reflection is talking it out, whether in or outside of the classroom, by taking in and really processing what you have learned. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Melissa Lugo, and I am the English teacher at the Life School. And I just want to give a little bit of the teacher perspective on academic rigor. So we at the Life School really believe in challenging our students to learn the skills necessary not only for school, but also just for life in general. And as Dean has pointed out, those skills include research and analysis and synthesis. We want students to be able to pose big questions, deep thinking questions, know how to find reliable evidence in order to find answers to those questions, and to be able to analyze and synthesize that evidence and be able to express it powerfully. We believe in really learning from revision, as Dean was pointing out, like learning without fear of failure, because as a teacher, I've seen that unlock everything for a student. A student who's afraid of trying isn't able to learn as fast, right? Or learn as well, or learn in a way that's, you know, socially and emotionally best for that student. So having that idea of like, well, you try, and if you fail, it's okay. You get feedback, you learn from it, you revise, and then you turn in another product. And if you need to revise again, you revise again. So we really feel that's a really important aspect of learning, and one that really makes, I think, our program work really well and makes our students learn really well. And then also really important is that we believe in student reflection. So it's not just, you know, the teachers telling students, oh, this is what you need to work on, or this is what you're doing really well at, but students gaining the metacognition to be able to look at themselves and say, okay, here's what I'm doing really well, here's where I need to improve, and here's my action plan for how I'm going to take steps to actually improve upon that skill. So they can really have ownership of their learning. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Theo. I'm a junior in Life School, and so today I want to talk about advisory a little bit. So everybody in Life School gets an advisor and a smaller group of students in the Life School to meet with a couple times a week. This year we've met on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays in the morning. And advisory is a place where you can share experiences and get advice from your advisor, but also from your peers. We also talk about current events and often have guest speakers, such as Hope Store, which taught us about healthy relationships and domestic violence. So overall, advisory is just a smaller community within Life School where you can learn and grow with each other, and it's really awesome, and I love it. Next, I'll talk about social and emotional intelligence. So in Life School, everybody is pushed to grow as individuals, socially and emotionally, which will help prepare us for life beyond high school. So for instance, we're always working with different types of people in different groups, and we always have to learn how to like hold ourselves accountable and hold our peers accountable for their workloads. We also learn how to give and receive feedback and take care of ourselves and help others. And now more than ever, it's really important to have these resources and people to lean on. And I found a lot of people to lean on within the life school with my advisors and other teachers. And so it's really amazing. So the social and emotional aspect of life school gives us life skills that aren't really taught as much on the main campus, but are really important for our futures. Next, the Four Agreements. The Four Agreements is a book that everyone in life school reads by Don Miguel Ruiz. His son, who's also a writer, who's written similar books to the Four Agreements, came in and talked to us during a community once, and that was student organized. So it was really awesome hearing from him. The Four Agreements are to be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And these agreements make up the foundation of our community and are talked about throughout life school. And it's really important to us. So I'll pass it on to Sophie.
Hi, I'm Sophie Stein, and I'm a senior in life school. So first, I'll talk about growth mindset. So as Melissa mentioned earlier, the reflection and revision process is super important in our classes. So now I'll talk about it from a student perspective. Since life school is a project-based learning, after we complete projects, we get feedback from both our teachers and our classmates. So we learn how to give and receive feedback. Warm feedback is the positive things that people liked or thought worked well in your work. And cool feedback are things that people think can be improved or should be done differently. And we use this feedback to make revisions. And this all leads to our growth mindset, where we value feedback and we are always looking for ways to improve our work. And we also do a lot of reflections after we have class discussions or do projects. And in the spring, we do internships. So during this process, we learn how to write a resume, how to cold call companies, get an interview, and then successfully complete that interview. And this is a great opportunity for us to gain real life experiences. And some examples of internships that students have done in the past are working at stores, working at the vet, going to elementary schools in our school district and helping the teachers. Some people go into the city for their internships and some people stay in Greeley. And lastly, constant connections to the real world. In all of our classes, we discuss current events, which is a great way for us to know what's going on in the world around us. And in addition to having discussions about it, we're also able to integrate current events into our classes by doing research and projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo and Sophie. Hi, everyone. My name is David Kessler, and I'm a current senior in the life school. And now we're going to be discussing how the college process works and how it prepares both juniors and seniors.
Hi everyone, my name is Mia Hines and I'm also a senior, and I'm working with David tonight to tell you about the college process as a life school student. So to start off, a big part of the college process is getting to know yourself, and life school is a perfect program and environment to do this. You figure out what kind of learning techniques work best for you, and intimate class sizes are beneficial in the sense that they help you gauge what exactly it is that you're looking for in colleges, and this better prepares you for figuring out what kind of school you want. Do you want a big or small school, small class sizes, large class sizes, a school with a strong community? With getting to know yourself, it's important to utilize your resources in order to figure out what exactly it is that you're looking for in the college process. Life school does a great job of this, as we have things like alumni panels.
So speaking of alumni panels, in a typical year, we'd gather in C6, as you could see behind me, sitting on the blue couches, shoulder to shoulder, and we'd listen to past your alumni speak about the college experience, and it applies both to juniors and seniors, and we're able to listen to their process of getting into college and how college has been, or how their college process has been as a previous life school student.
To add on, many of the alums talk to us about college essays and interviews and how life school better prepared them for those experiences. And just to add on to the junior and senior internships, These are the perfect opportunity to do interviews, and this helps equip us with the skills to interview for actual jobs and with college admissions. So it's definitely a great skill to have.
And when your senior year comes, then you're going to require teacher recommendations. And so these teacher recommendations are beyond strong and individual because we have close relationships with the teachers. And they know more about us because of the intimate class sizes that the Life School offers.
With that said, this is what colleges tell the program and its students. Colleges love that everyone in the Life School took advantage of such a unique opportunity because it shows that you would be a promising candidate to any community that you join. It shows that you would be willing to participate in extracurriculars like clubs, sports, and volunteer programs, etc. And it's important to note that Life School also gives you the skills for college classes. This past semester in the seniors economic course, the curriculum was open and project-based as we had projects of our choosing, much like college classes. And this was helpful because it grew our inquiry and research skills. And these are important skills to utilize, especially in college where much of the work is independently researched. Thank you.
And I'll just add that, first of all, I hope you can see by this point that our students to the colleges sound and look different. The skills they have, the experience, the self-knowledge, the ability to talk about themselves with such depth and fluency is really impressive to the colleges. And I think, as David pointed out, the recommendation letters just have such nuance and texture to them because we know the kids really well and can advocate for them and help colleges understand what makes them unique. A couple of years ago, the counseling department at Greeley had the Dean of Admissions of Colgate come speak to the 10th grade parents. And before he spoke, we showed people a little video on the Life School and told them to come to this meeting. He ended up spending a lot of his talk that night actually talking about the Life School and how this is the place that people should send their students. And this is the kind of student that Colgate and other schools are looking for. Because colleges, as I said at the beginning, have been moving in this direction for years. And they want students who can come in and help other students learn how to collaborate, how to do rigorous research, how to analyze and synthesize, how to create a powerful thesis statement, how to teach each other, and how to build a community. And our kids know how to do those things. We've had plenty of kids where colleges said to them, you know, you were so attractive to us because of the Life School experience, because you sought out something different educationally that would empower you and prepare you well for what we're going to do here in college. And as you can see from this list, this is just a small sample of the kinds of schools that Life School students have gone to and go to. And you'll see it's the same kind of mix of schools that you'd see on the main campus. I think as Mia and David pointed out, our students maybe have a little bit of an advantage in the sense that they know themselves really well, and the college process tends to be one of empowerment for kids, and they really tend to make really intelligent choices about what's the right school for them because they understand themselves as learners to such a profound degree. And so that tends to really help them in the college process and lowers the stress at least a little bit. And now we'd like to share with you a parent's perspective. Many of you watching tonight are parents, I imagine. And so Fran has agreed to come. Fran has a senior in the Life School right now and share a little bit about, from her perspective, what makes the Life School such a great place for kids.
Yeah, hi. So the first thing I can say is everything the kids said is spot on. When I was in your shoes and my daughter told me she wanted to apply to the Life School, I didn't know that much about it. I watched the meeting. I was open-minded. I was a little concerned that it wasn't traditional and wondered how that would affect her prospects in college and all that. It all sounded amazing. I didn't believe the hype that everybody told me that it would change my kid's life. In fact, it turned out to be true. It did. And, you may wonder, why is it so different or what is it about it? Eliza's a senior now, and what I've come to see and learn is how much the teachers respect the kids. It is a fundamentally different kind of respect than you get at Greeley otherwise. Of course, Greeley teachers respect their kids, but this is different. They take the kids really seriously as individuals. They're really interested in them. They're interested in their lives, what the kids have to say in a much more fundamental way. And I think that respect ends up it's contagious, basically, and the kids end up respecting the teachers back. And from that, they respect each other. So they learn very well how to be with different kinds of kids and what it is that makes other people's strengths work in a group context and as individuals. Because of that, I think they're much less judgmental of one another than you get of the typical high school kids. So this notion of community is absolutely fundamentally true. You have classrooms that are based on people respecting each other and supporting each other and knowing each other better than they otherwise would. And I think that makes the kids feel much more comfortable taking risks in the classroom. They think harder, they're willing to challenge themselves harder, they're not so afraid of failing. I think that is, in part because they're not being spoon-fed material that they then have to memorize and then, give back on a test. They're doing it on their own in a much more fundamental way. The learning, of course, is guided by the teachers, but the work is to some extent self-directed, the way that it would be in a college context. Kids have a fair amount of discretion in their topics within a unit. So I think that they're learning the skill or the area of academics through a topic that they care about and that motivates them. They then share that learning with each other, which gives them great confidence in knowing the material and how to teach the material. I mean, I'm blown away by the confidence I just saw in the students who spoke on this. And I think that's just, an aspect of what they learn being in a program like this. And I think the learning stays with them longer than it would in a typical high school class. Again, because they're doing it on their own, they're researching, they're writing, they're thinking, they're pushing themselves. They're not just learning it for a test. So to me, my daughter's going to a small liberal arts college. I think she is extremely well set up to succeed in that environment because of life school. It feels very much like that kind of classroom. And it is a very wonderful, we've had a very wonderful experience with it at Greeley, and I couldn't recommend it more highly. So.
Thank you, Fran. So let's talk for a minute about the process itself for applying to the Life School. So the application is live, as hopefully you know. It's available on our website. It's due before 9 p.m. on January 29th, and that's important. At 9 p.m. it closes, and you can't submit it after that. So make sure you get it in before then. There's some people who procrastinate to the last minute. Please don't do that. Please get started on it. And it's just part of the process. Don't overthink it too much. We're really just looking for, and I'll say this again later, we're looking to figure out who you are. There are no right or wrong answers. There's no one type of student that this program is intended for. We take a big mix of kids. We're trying to create a puzzle, put a puzzle together. Help us understand what kind of a puzzle piece you are so we can figure out how you could fit into our community. We have the same mix of kids that you see on the main campus. So you fill out the application by January 29th. Then by February break, you'll get an email from me that will say when your interview is. If you haven't heard from me by the start of February break, send me an email and say, hey, I applied, haven't heard from you. But you'll get an email from me, you should, by the break. And late February, right after the break, early March, we'll have group interviews, typically 3-4 kids in an interview with the teachers and 1 or 2 seniors. And again, we're just trying to get to know who you are. No right or wrong answers, just trying to get to know who you are. And then the decisions are emailed out mid-March, and that allows us to have you meet with your counselor the 3rd or 4th week in March. put together what would be a life school schedule for you, and then you get to decide, do I want to take this offer or not? So there's no applying, there's no commitment up front. You get to, after you've put together a schedule with your counselor, whether this is the right fit for you or not, and whether you want to proceed, and no judgment. If you don't get in as a rising junior, so you apply your sophomore year for junior year, if you don't get in, you can reapply the following year. We take, anywhere from 1 to 8 or 9, usually somewhere in the middle, seniors every year. And most years, 1 or more of those are people who applied and didn't get in as a junior. So you're encouraged to reapply. And then part of the application process, will say on there that you're committing to go on our camping trip. We normally, at the beginning and end of the year, go on a camping trip. It's part of our bonding experience, building community, getting to know each other. Obviously, this year we couldn't do that, so we're not sure if we'll be able to do that in the fall. We'll have to wait and see. But on the application, it will say that if you are accepted, you're committing to going to that camping trip. So that's the process. Now we'll deal with questions. I'll open up the Q&A. So if you've got any questions, pop them in there. There are a couple people who asked about foreign language classes. Most of our kids do continue to take foreign language. They take them on the main campus. At one point, we did have a life school Italian class. We don't currently offer any foreign language classes in the life school, so kids take those on the main campus. Someone asked, how many kids get in? Great question. So this is a good year to be applying, particularly as a rising junior. So if you're a sophomore, timing is good for you, because there are 37 spots that are going to be available this year. We always have 2 sections of one year and one of the other. This year, we have 2 sections of seniors and 1 of juniors, but the seniors are graduating, which means next year it switches, and we have 1 of seniors, 1 section rising up. We'll take some seniors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something, small group of rising seniors to add to the mix. And then we'll have 2 sections of juniors coming in. And so we anticipate 37 slots available total coming in. So there'll probably be, a handful or so maybe of rising seniors, and the rest 2 sections of juniors. Someone asked, with the learning being so self-directed, how does that look for students with executive functioning and organizational needs? So one of the great things about the life school is that you have a tremendous amount of support available. If you get learning center support, obviously Maryland, you would in all likelihood have learning center or student support with Maryland in the life school, which is great because your access to the teachers during that time is pretty great. So we're sort of a team effort trying to help you. In addition, part of what we try to do is help everybody learn how to be better with executive functioning and organizational skills and time management, et cetera. So, for each kid, we try to provide the scaffolding that will help them be successful and become more independent. And one of the reasons why we call the life school learning interdependently is to encourage kids to understand that learning is interdependent. And part of that is asking for and receiving help and coaching on things like executive functioning, time management, organization, et cetera. Another question, what about kids who have an IEP and get learning center support? Again, that would be with Maryland. How is that accommodated or integrated? So that would be in their schedule, and depending on the number of kids and their schedules, we try to make sure that with Maryland, there are most years either a few kids who end up taking student support on the main campus, or there have been some years where an additional special education teacher comes into the life school and offers an additional life school student support section. But regardless, we work very closely with the special ed teachers for kids who have an IEP. And there was one I think that was answered before. One, to what extent is self-confidence an ingoing requirement or assessment to be selected into the life school versus the experience of life school bringing that out? as I said earlier, we try to take a wide range of kids, big mix of kids, lots of different interests, strengths, areas of struggle, et cetera. So we're not looking for any particular strength, and we hope, and I think you saw tonight, that our kids tend to learn a lot of self-confidence and self-confidence that you saw tonight. I think it's something that as kids have that agency over figuring out who they are and who they're trying to become and developing these skills, that they develop self-confidence. But I don't know if any of the teachers or students want to chime in on that one, and to what extent the life school helps you develop that self-confidence and poise.
I would just add, it was briefly mentioned before. Life school, as Steve said, it's like you each bring, you are a puzzle piece to this large puzzle. We are vulnerable with each other because of the community aspect, and we're able to, instead of being questioning ourselves, instead of being worried about being wrong or right, you have the opportunity to be yourself and to have a growth mindset, to appreciate what you're learning, to grasp and always remember this. It will be with you for college. I could say, as this is my second year in the life school, there is, as it was said also before, this program is life-changing, and the skills that you learn, the knowledge. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I mean, really, you are able to grow confidence skills and the skills mentioned before.
So if I could add on, is I think we're just as interested in who you can become as who you are. So I wrote down a few testimonials that I wanted to throw in tonight, and these are from former students and parents. And one of them, thank you so much for helping my daughter break out of her shell. And this was somebody who came in as a very shy person who wouldn't even speak up in class or an advisory, but who left life school as a leader. So these are the things that, we're hoping for a wide variety of kids, and they can develop any kind of skills from leadership to confidence to the ability to form much closer friendships than they may have had before. All of these things we find important. So the kids come in with a different skill set, and all of them work on their own unique things.
I wanted to add onto blood for 1 second. The only reason that we're able to do that is because we're able to lower the stakes in our classroom. Kids feel comfortable making mistakes and learning and growing from that. And that's really important to emphasize as well. If you're not one that would normally volunteer for a webinar on a Thursday night during the school year, the night before the semester ends, I wonder what these students themselves think of themselves being up here, because I'm proud of them. I'm sure they are too.
I just wanted to say, as a person with a lot of anxiety and does not like speaking in front of people, this is definitely like a big step for me. And I wouldn't be able to do it without being part of the life school and this amazing community and just being like supported by everybody here. So I'm just extremely grateful for everyone here. And yeah, the life school is the best thing ever.
Other questions that are on the Q&A? Can students take band and other art electives, film, et cetera, on the main campus? Absolutely, as long as it fits their schedule and that there's a section of that course available when the students are free, which is the same situation as if you'd be on the main campus. So absolutely. We have a lot of students actually who are artists, musicians, et cetera. Here's a good one. If there are no tests, how do they get graded? Anyone want to take a crack at that one?
I can try. Okay, so I like the grading in life school a lot better. And so I'm just going to compare tests versus like life school projects. Now tests, you take them usually in like an hour or so, and you're graded on whatever is on that paper for the hour. Now in life school projects, you have a lot of time to do research, synthesize it, form a thesis, and form it into some sort of final product. As Gabby has said, it can come in so many different forms. Someone did a t-shirt, We've done podcasts. It can be a simple essay sometimes, presentations, etc. And with that, we have a rubric, and it's on the rubric, there are the core skills I said before. So written and verbal expression, analysis and synthesis, inquiry and research, collaboration, and creative and lateral thinking. Now for each of these fields, we have 4 categories. So we have, someone correct me if I'm wrong. It is beginning, approaching, meeting, and exceeding. And you'll get graded in one of those categories for each skill. And for each skill, sometimes it will be it will equate to a certain amount of points. For the individual projects I did in economics, we had a different grading system where you had to master X amount of skills to get a certain grade. For us, since there are 6 skills in total, we had to master 5 out of the 6, and master meaning we had to get meeting or exceeding twice. So this rubric takes a couple different forms, and I like this for the main reason of like you're graded based off of the work you do for many different weeks versus a single hour, or sometimes even less.
Yeah.
One of the things I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I could quickly add on to that, one thing what I've noticed is tests, it's a lot of just memorization and kind of like feeding back, like learning, like memorizing PowerPoints and just kind of like putting it onto paper, where projects, you're like, you actually understand the topics that you learn. So like, no matter the grading process, which is awesome, like it's definitely a different way of learning and it's much more beneficial.
I think it's great. And I think that maybe a difference to think about is that rather than testing kids on memorization of information and knowledge, we're more interested in seeing how they can acquire and find that information and knowledge, synthesize it, and apply it to answer really big, open-ended, complicated questions, and to be able to teach themselves and each other. And then so we studied for years the intersection between kids acquiring and growing in skills, feedback that they get, and assessment and grading, and tried to figure out what does the research say is the best way to kind of merge those 3 objectives together. And that led us to a really robust skills curriculum, the standards-based grading that Dean talked about, where the kids are getting feedback in the grading. They're getting feedback on how they're doing on each of these skills, and the portfolio system and reflection, so the kids can own their learning, track their growth, and be more proactive about getting better at the things that they need to get better at. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Why hasn't the life school expanded to starting in grade 9 yet? So yeah, it's really a matter of I think a couple of things. One is part of the power of a lab school like this is to keep it relatively small and nimble and flexible. And so that's part of it. The other is really staffing. We have the staffing to be able to offer the program that we do for 11th and 12th graders. We don't have the staffing we've talked about it at times going back to offering 10th grade, which the first year of the life school, there was a 10th grade program as well. But we don't do that. The idea is that, and we've seen this over time, that as a lab school, the things that we learn and practice here in the life school start to make their way more and more into the main campus experience. We've seen that. The schedule on the main campus was influenced by the block scheduling of the life school when that schedule was created about a dozen years ago. The shift towards more project-based learning, the innovative spaces in the iLab, we were involved with that. The redesign of L building as well to facilitate more project-based and hands-on learning. The senior experience was modeled on our internship program. So the idea is that as we do more of these things, it's infusing itself more into the main campus experience as well. So that's been sort of the philosophy. to this point. Let's see if there's anything else.
Also, just to add on,
Yeah.
as much as I would have loved to have the life school for all 4 years, to think about it in a different perspective, the fact that it's only offered for junior and senior year, it's such a tight-knit community. So it's like around 65 students. So that way you can build better relationships with not only your fellow peers, but also the teachers, and relating it back, I guess, to college. Again, you get beyond strong recommendations.
So thank you all for sharing your evening with us, part of your evening with us. I hope this was informative and helpful. Again, applications are due before 9 p.m. on January 29th. Whether you're a student or a parent, if you have any questions after this session, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Steve Walker, in the Life School. My email address is stwalker@chappaqua.schools.org. You can also find me through the Greeley website and the Life School website, which is under departments on the Greeley website. And if you're a student and you'd like to sit in on a class or talk to one or more students and ask some questions of them directly, we're happy to facilitate that. You can sit in on a class, you can talk to some students. If you want to talk to me or one of the teachers, we're happy to facilitate that as well. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for either clarification on a question or to stop by virtually, or if you are coming into school and you want to come by and we can socially distance and wear our masks and have a conversation, happy to do that too. So don't be a stranger. And hope you think about applying and taking a chance here. The one thing that you'll hear me say during the interviews is that I think it speaks highly of people who would apply to come into the Life School, because life is about opening doors and trying to create opportunities and options for yourself. Again, there's no commitment by applying, but to be the kind of person in life who opens doors and explores new opportunities and tries different things is, I think, a really important thing. So encourage all of you to apply. And look forward to hopefully seeing you at the end of February, beginning of March in an interview. Thank you again to our students and teachers. Really so proud, as Priya said, of our students tonight. They're really amazing and did a fantastic job. They are the best advertisement for the program. And I hope you all stay safe and have a wonderful evening.